Hello, it's me, Eric again. Today's story is about a woman called Doris. She's in her 80s. Yeah, she was in one of these special recuperation hospitals. You know, it's like a big stately home with its own grounds and a pond outside. It's basically where people go when they've got anxiety problems, they've had breakdowns, that sort of thing. So she's been staying there. She's been there for about 5 years. There's just her and a friend that she always hangs around with in there called George, and that's pretty much what today's story's about. So I'll tell you all about it. One day, George was outside. He was wandering over to the pond. He was getting ready to feed the ducks. So he was ripping big chunks of bread and throwing them to the ducks. And then halfway through, he just seemed to just lose it. He just thought, oh, whatever. So he started wading in. He had his night coat and his tartan slippers on, but he didn't care. He just started wading into the pond. And all of a sudden he started splashing about. He was obviously struggling. The ducks were just looking nervously at each other. The ducks could see he was in trouble. They were panicking a bit, the ducks. These two mallards are like nudging each other, looking over and shaking their heads. Anyway, Doris noticed. So she thought, right, well, I best do something. So she goes running over. Well, she's about 82, so she didn't exactly run over, but she did walk briskly. She walks over with like a pink nightgown and a pair of fluffy pink slippers on. She takes the pink slippers off and she says, right, have it. And she throws the pink slippers away, and then she jumps in the water and she starts swimming over to rescue George. She grabs him round the neck, pulls him out of the water, and he's there coughing and spluttering. She helps him to his feet, and then they both walk off. Anyway, the orderlies have arrived by this time. They've seen what's happened. They've seen she's rescued him. So she's a big hero the day after that, you see. So the nurse was talking to the doctor later on, and she was explaining, what happened. And the doctor's like, she's showing real compassion there. She's obviously all right. I think it's time we got her released. You got to do something for her after doing something like that. She's obviously not got any mental problems anymore. So, yeah. So the nurse says, good, I'll let her know, she'll be dead happy about that. Anyway, about 20 minutes later, the nurse burst back into his room. She says, I've got some terrible news. He says, wow, what's happened? She says, I've just found George. She said, he's in his room there. He was hanging by the ceiling by his belt. It looks like he's committed suicide. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to tell Doris about this. The doctor's like, well, we'll both tell her. We'll give her the good news she's been released, and we'll tell her about George. It's a shame, but we'll have to tell her. So they're talking to her. They say, Doris, we've got some news for you. I'm afraid we've got some good news and some bad news. So what I'll do is I'll tell you the good news first. The good news is we've all had a discussion and we've decided that it's time you were released. She says, oh, that's great. I'm happy about that. The doctor said, well, apart from that, I'm afraid I've got some really bad news. He says, your friend George? She says, yeah. She said, well, we found him in his room. I'm afraid he's hung himself. She says, he's not hung himself. I hung him up to dry. He was drying. So, yeah, I won't worry about that. Anyway, when am I being released? Anyway, at this point, the doctor and the nurse, I think, made the decision that maybe it was a bit early to release her. So yeah, that was that. I hope you enjoyed that story, just thought I'd tell you about it. Anyway, I'll tell you what's coming up on the channel. I am going to work on a historical one again, but it could take me a month or so to do that one. I'm going to do Boudica, or Boadicea as they used to call her. If you don't know who Boadicea or Boudica is, just think Mel Gibson Braveheart only with boobs. That's pretty much what Boadicea is. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. See you later. Have a nice weekend, and I'll see you again. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you can, because it all helps. So yeah, thanks for that. Right, I shall see you later. Bye. Right, I'm going now. See you later.